Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I used this MIOPS Slider Plus to make this extreme close-up image. So this piece of equipment was sent to me by the manufacturers for evaluation. And one of the things that struck me about it is that it is very adaptable. You can use it for all sorts of different purposes. But one thing that struck me in particular was its ability to automate focus stacking. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is just add a couple of things to it. This is how it comes out of the box, if you like. So the first thing I'm going to add to it is just a quick release plate to the top. This is the part of the unit which actually moves backwards and forwards. So what I'm going to do is just screw this quick release plate onto the top of that, which will just make it a bit easier to line up the camera, etc. Now the unit that I'm using on the top here is a Manfrotto one, but there are lots available. So I'll just tighten up the locking screws in here, just to lock that in position, like so. Now with that on the top, the only other thing would be to add another quick release plate so that I can put it on the top of the tripod. Okay, so with those two little additions, I can now just pop this on the top of a tripod, like so. So to capture the images, I'm just going to be using my camera, which is this full frame digital SLR. This has a 24-70 zoom lens on the front of it. Now I'm going to be using this for extreme close-up work, so what I've actually done is just placed a 12mm extension tube at the back of the lens here, just to allow me to focus a little closer. And the whole camera is tethered into Capture One software, so it's easy to see the results as I go along. On the top of the camera here I have this flash sync trigger, which is also capable of controlling the energy in the studio flashes. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this on the top here, just like that. And with a quick release unit on there like that, it does make it a lot easier to mount the camera. Now with the camera mounted on the MIOPS Slider Plus like this, it's possible to use all of the adjustments on the geared head. So I can tilt the camera like so, in roll, and tilt it backwards and forwards, and obviously take it up and down on the column, which gives an awful lot of control. And because I've set the camera up to be in line with the MIOPS Slider Plus, it means that all the focusing will be in this plane, which is what I want. Okay, so for a subject, I've decided to use some tulips. So here's one that I found earlier, and we'll have a few more in the background just to add a bit of interest. Something like that. Okay, so I'm going to zoom the lens all the way out to the 70mm end initially, and so that we can all see what's going on, I'll just turn the camera on. You can see that the software here has recognized the camera, and at the moment I have the following settings. It's in full manual mode. I've set it to 1/250th of a second for a shutter speed, which is the flash sync speed for that camera, ISO 100, and an aperture of f4. So with nothing else on, what I will do at the moment is just grab a test image just to make sure that we don't get any contamination from the house lights. There we go. And there's nothing to speak of there. There's a few little bits, but I don't think there's anything of any importance. Okay, so that'll be fine. So to carry on and set up the image properly, what I'm going to do is just go to Live View, like so. I always find that using live view is much easier than trying to squint through the viewfinder for these sort of things. So what I will do is just move this so it's just about in the right sort of place for what I want. I think something like that. And I think the background is looking fairly good. Just turn that around like that. I just want some interest in the background like so. Now the rest of the background, I'm just going to use a piece of grey card, which I have on this C stand. So I'm just going to place this in here somewhere, just like that. There. So you can see the grey card in the edges on the image there. Okay, so the next thing to do would be just to set up a light. So what I'm going to use is this Profoto pack system, which is sadly discontinued now, but it's very useful for this sort of thing. I suppose the new equivalent would be the B10, which is a similar sort of energy to this system. I'll just turn the pack on here. There we go. And what I'm doing here is I've just got this reflector with a piece of diffusion material on the bottom of it. That way it's going to give me quite a nice soft light, I think. So we'll just have a go at focusing that somewhere close, just to do a test image, just like that. So with all that set, turn the flash sync trigger on, we'll just grab a test image. Okay, so you can see from that it's a little overexposed. I think I need to take the energy down in the flash. So I will take that down by, 3 stops to start with, and we'll see how that goes. Like so, we'll grab that again. There we go, that's looking a little better. You just put the exposure warning on. Yes, we're just getting a little bit of highlight on here, but the rest of it's looking okay. It's looking a little dark underneath here. So what I might do is just add a reflector just to recycle some of this light just to the underside of the tulip here. So I've just got a piece of card in a retort stand, and I'm just going to place this in here just like that. We'll just see what difference that makes. I'll just grab another image. There, that's livened it up a little. So now all this underside is quite well exposed. Okay, so with that done, next thing I want to do is just liven up the background a bit. There are a few spaces in there where you can see the background coming through. So what I'm going to do is just add another head, another flash head, just like this. And this has a green filter on the front of it. So it's just going to cast some green light onto the background. Okay, so again at an arbitrary energy level, I'll just take a test shot. There we are, and you can see from that that it's added some green in the background there, possibly a little bit too much. So I'm just going to take one stop off that to start with. We'll just fire that again. There we are, that's better. So it's toned it down a little bit. Okay, so with that now done, the composition and the exposure is more or less there. So now we just need to set up the focus points and the rest of the stack collection, which is done on the app on the phone. But in order to make it a little bit easier, what I'm going to do is just start up Live View on this software, like so. So this is now just giving me a live view from the camera. So with that on, what I can do now is just start up the app on my phone. So go to the MIOPS app, like so, and select Focus Stacking. And now I'll select the A point. So I can move the camera assembly now backwards and forwards. So as I do this, you can see on the live view that the focus is moving further and further towards the back of the image. So I think that's the right sort of place where I want to be, on the back of the furthest petal. So I'll just click on OK for that. And now go to point B. So again, it just needs adjusting a little bit. So I'll just move the slider. And I'm this time going on the front petal. There we are. And I'll set that. And now I can tell it how much I want to move for each frame. 1 millimeter, I think. That should be about right at f4. And I want 1 exposure. And I'm going to have an interval of 3 seconds, which should give enough time for the camera to settle in between each movement. Okay. Take Capture One out of live view. And off we go. There we go. You can see the camera moving backwards in between each image. And the images are now coming into Capture One software. And that'll trundle along and take 22 images. And there we go. So that has now captured all those images, and now it just remains to go into focus stacking software to put the whole thing together before I then put it into Photoshop. Okay, so here we are in Helicon Focus 8. I tend to use Helicon Focus 8 instead of trying to do this stacking in Photoshop, because it gives a much better result without any editing. So I've loaded up all of the images that we captured in that stack, all 22 of them, and we'll just ask it to render those. So the software will go through and find all the bits of each image which are actually in focus, and then build up a new image of those parts. There we are, and I think that seems to have worked quite well. So now I'll just save that down and go into Photoshop. Okay, so here is the final image in Photoshop, and I think it's turned out quite well. I think the only thing I need to do to this is just crop it to size and go from there. So we'll just pick a crop. Now I'm going to pick a specific ratio because this is going to be for the video, but obviously you could pick a ratio which suits your subject. So we'll go for something a bit like that, I think. Excellent. Just click on OK. And there we have it. So that is a 22 image focus stack, all done automatically with the aid of the MIOPS Slider Plus. And I think that's turned out rather well. Well, if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other images as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and click on the like button. Thank you very much for watching.